The WFCA has just historically been an association of retailers, your associate members and so on. Might that change, or might that be tweaked in one way or another?
I think the ties that we have with manufacturers and distributors will be stronger than they've been in the past, simply because of my background and the relationships that I have. I came back this week. Earlier in the week, I was up in Canada with Mailmark Distributors, one of the largest distributors up there, and got to speak to those people and help them understand the value of the WFCA, and we're looking at what we can do to partner going forward. Obviously, from a manufacturing standpoint, I've connected with a lot of people that I haven't met face-to-face with through LinkedIn, and I'm looking forward to even more meetings within the manufacturing realm. Quite frankly, most of my meetings thus far have been, with retailers or individual key players. Luckily, some of the awards banquets that I've been at have allowed me to meet with key players from Mohawk and Voyu and Shaw and everybody, Armstrong, Mannington, all in one place, IBC. So that's been a blessing, because it gave me the contact information I needed to sit down on the backside and have a much longer conversation with some of those key people.
I bet you learned some interesting things from some of the other manufacturers that you would have never learned.
Yeah, that I wasn't really ingrained in, at least at Shaw. Your familiarity with everything that went on in the industry you had to have to be successful. You had to understand how all the parts played together. But the day-to-day interaction we didn't have. And I'm really enjoying that. Dave, one of the things that people need to know, and I wish people outside the industry could hear me say this, the quality of people in this industry is amazing. It's everything I hoped it would be. I mean, I think back to the Rachel Reimers and the Peggy Nolans and people that worked for my dad, 40 years ago in a small carpet mill on 825 North 4th Avenue in Chatsworth, Georgia. The quality of those people impacted my life back then, as they allowed me to work alongside them as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. We are full of people like that are we're the heartbeat of America. We truly are the lifeblood of America. Jeffrey King, our legal counsel, who's worked with us for some 20 years with the WFCA, he said the reason I retained the WFCA as a customer above and beyond all of the other people that I had worked with was because I saw that these are blue-collar people. These are the people that make America work. And he said, as somebody who came up that way myself, I respected that, and I wanted to be a part of it. And he is very ingrained in our success. We are very blessed as an industry. We have a lot of good quality people that want to do the right thing, and we just have to help them find those tools and create those tools for them.
Now, you're going to stay in Dalton. The WFCA is headquartered in Anaheim.
That's correct.
In the L.A. area. Again, as you mentioned, you came from the manufacturing sector. You've talked to players from all of the major and I suspect a lot of the minor players. What do you see ahead? I mean, are they in a position to work with, and I should mention, obviously, Warner Braun, you'd mentioned him earlier,
yes,
who heads the CRI, the Carpet and Rug Institute. Do you see opportunities to work closer with the manufacturing community?
Very much so. Very much so. You might get a different answer, Dave, if you ask them that question, but I go into this with a blank canvas. I walk in and simply ask the question, what can WFCA do for you? And initially they may go, I'm not sure. And I said, well, if you did know, what would we be able to do? Think outside the box. What are the things that cost you that we might be able to do for you and eliminate cost or eliminate aggravation? And it's amazing that after a few minutes of questions like that, you'll come up with something that meets the need of every person you talk to. Now, can we do all those things? Not right away. And some of them we won't do at all because not enough people are raising their hand saying that we need that. But when enough people do raise their hand, then we'll go to work and we'll find the resources, whether that's contracting with key players on the outside or using the skilled players that we already have at the WFCA.
Well, it does seem, at least in theory, that the manufacturers, I suspect, have lots of information that they would be very happy to have in the heads of retailers all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to the manufacturers, the one thing that they say is if you can make the retailer stronger, you've helped us. If you can help the independent retailer, the retailers that are part of buying groups, be even stronger than they are as a part of that group, then obviously that's a big help to the manufacturer. If it's simply running the machines more. And we're going to see some of that anyway, Dave, as business continues to improve. If we continue the upward cycle, it seems we truly did bottom out maybe second, third quarter last year. Fourth quarter began to see an upward trend. First quarter of this year was down slightly, but what we've seen in the second quarter, for the most part, the people I talk to consistently all across my travels have said it's better than they expected, and it's not spotty. That's the biggest thing to me. You expect a recovery in Florida, in Nevada, in Phoenix, in some of these areas where they had the greatest hit from the economy. But when you begin to see it in places like Dalton, Georgia, and Chatsworth, Georgia, where you're seeing the unemployment rates continually drop, that creates consumer confidence, and people begin to buy. They begin to refurbish. They begin to make a change in the place that they're living that will have a long-term impact and allow them to stay there and be comfortable.
A couple of weeks ago, the WFCA received an award basically for placement for the articles that have been generated. That's a program they've been doing for years, as far as I can remember. Is that a program you think will be continued?
Yes, it will. I mean, one of the things we want to do is help people outside the industry understand where the industry is headed, innovations that the industry has, and what we're doing, especially as it relates to the environment, to new fibers, to the soft trend that is out there today. We're a voice that is an independent voice to people that don't know the flooring industry. Obviously, within the industry, we have a lot of voices and a lot of very knowledgeable voices. What we allow, and it's funny, after our last interview together, I spent a week in New York, and in that week, we traveled around and met with a lot of the major publications that are not trade publications, but publications like Oprah Magazine and Better Homes and Gardens and even Popular Science. Anyone who might run an article that at some point discusses flooring. And we made them aware of what the new trends are, because at Surfaces last year, some of our key players went around, looked at some of the new trends and some of the things that are just outside the edge, people that are thinking outside the box. And we showcased small samples of all those products to some of the key publishers and editors of these magazines. And they were very excited not only to see where we're headed, but also to know that they've got somewhere they can turn to if they have a question, where they need information for an article somewhere in the future.
That would almost seem to be an industry-wide effort, as opposed to just an effort on the part of retailers.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, you think about that, Dave, that may actually be more of a benefit to the manufacturer than it is to the retailer. Because to the manufacturer, those innovations that they continue to put out there, if we don't get some traction on the outside, they won't last. I mean, here today, gone tomorrow. But as we begin to communicate to people that this is not just an industry, it's not something that's simply functional in your home. This is style, and this is design, this is fashion. Yeah. And I was amazed myself. I mean, as somebody who's been in the industry for 40 plus years, to see what people are doing. I mean, when you've got ceramic that looks like hardwood, who would have ever thought that we would do things like that? You look at some of the luxury vinyl tile, luxury vinyl plank that is out there today. We've come so far. The soft fibers that you've got from the major manufacturers putting it out there, it's exciting for me to get to go in and talk about all of these things. It's exciting for me to get to represent the entire industry and not just talk about the one mill that I've spent my life with.
Building membership is obviously where it's at with WFCA, with any association. And I guess the organization, in a way, has to reinvent themselves. Is that the way you see it? I mean, you sit down in July and you say, we need to come up with a new bag of tricks, with new offerings that we've never done before that are going to turn the heads of retailers. That's the challenge that you really have.
Yeah, and it may be new. It may be reinvigorating ideas that are already out there. I mean, Tom Jennings will be coming on board with us July 1st. Tom TV is what we call it, but Tom does an amazing job, and you're part of this, creating these short 3 to 5 minute segments to help retail sales associates understand how to sell product, how to interact with customers in our latest online magazine solutions. He does a great job talking about attitude and how important attitude is in closing the sale. Most retailers would tell you they don't have time to take people off the showroom floor for an hour and train them. But if you got videos that are 3 to 5 minutes, and I can guarantee you everybody during the day has 3 to 5 minutes where they could sit down and click on that, and if nothing else, reaffirm or refresh the skill set that they've already got. Yes, I don't know if reinvent's the right word. Relaunch, maybe.
Refocus.
Which simply means that we got a lot of good already. We've got a phenomenal staff in California. And I've been out there 4 times. Well, I'm going out next week, so that'll be my 4th. every time I feel like I'm going home because the people are just great. I enjoy being out there with the team. They know what they're doing. They understand the foundation of this organization. I spent a good deal of time my last trip out about 3 weeks ago with Dennis Blake, and Dennis was one of the former presidents of the WFCA. I love getting the historical background of this organization because although I understand we can't live back there, we can certainly learn back there. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I want to do coming in this role is to repeat mistakes that didn't work before. I want to talk to people like Dennis, and Dennis is right there in our backyard. He's one of the people that works with us on the financial side. He's been on our finance committee. I can get with Dennis every time I'm out there, and I can say, here's what I'm thinking about. Have we done something like this before? How was it received? If it didn't work, should it have worked? And if it didn't work and should have, why didn't it? Yeah. And I learned those things. Then when I go to the board, I'm not going to them just throwing an idea out there and saying, what do you think? I'm going with some detail, and I've solved some of those challenges that made it not work before, if it's the right route. We've had some brilliant people that led this group from the layman's side. When I say that, I mean the retailers that serve on the executive board and the board. If they tried something before, they tried it for a reason. It made sense. Obviously, the world around us has changed. The economy around us has changed. But some of those things that worked 10 years ago may be time for their cycle to come back around. And we've got to be willing to evaluate that. Certainly, obviously, looking to the future, too, to things that haven't been done yet and how we can stand out and help the retailers stand out.